Today's video is sponsored by Minimal Case. Now, with the release of the new Samsung S20 lineup, you want to make sure that your pricey investment is protected, but you don't want to add a lot of bulk and take away from that beautiful design. And that's where Minimal Case comes in. They have cases available in a bunch of different colors, but they keep everything very simple. You can get things like a matte black, frosted white, and even my favorite, which is the transparency case, where it looks like you don't even have a case on your phone at all. And that's the case that I use on my iPhone 11 Pro Max, and it keeps it protected from everyday use of sitting the phone on rough surfaces and then pulling it in and out of my pocket. Now, if you are interested in checking out the Minimal Cases, just head on over to minimalcase.com, where you're going to use the code GAMESKI to get 25% off. And I'll have a link in the description that if you go ahead and follow it, it will automatically apply that discount. And again, I'd like to thank Minimal Case for sponsoring today's video. Alright guys, so today we're going to check out a pair of truly wireless earbuds from JBL. And the pair we're going to check out are the JBL Tune 220s. Now this pair comes in at $99 and it has the stem style design, but usually that serves a purpose. And with these, I'm still trying to figure out why they even have them, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But for now, let's go ahead and check out some of the features and what it is you get inside the box. Now these are available in like 6 different colors. You have blue, green, gray, black, pink, and even white. They actually have a 12.5mm driver, so I'm definitely expecting sound that is much better than AirPods. Now they do have Bluetooth 5.0, but sadly they don't have aptX or AAC playback. Now with a pair that does come in at $99, I was kind of hoping that it would at least be able to have one or the other. Now another thing that's also confusing is JBL also doesn't have an official IP rating. So this is a pair that you don't know if you can get wet or splashed, and I definitely would not submerge them into water. Now as far as the charging cable, this is another thing. I'm not sure why they did it, but they come with a micro USB cable. Now speaking of the cable, the battery life on these are also not that great. On a single charge, you're going to only get around 3 hours, but with the charging case, you're going to get an additional 16. So you are looking at around 19 to 20 hours total, but that 3-hour battery life on an individual earbud is something that's not going to make a lot of people happy. So now let's look at the charging case. The charging case kind of resembles the AirPods case. It does have a flat surface on the back, so I do like that, so it'll sit flush against flat surfaces, but also kind of sit flush against your leg while it's in your pocket. Now as far as the input, it does have the micro USB input on the bottom, and then the indicator lights are actually located under the lid. Now this is to give you a general idea of how much battery life is left on the case. And so now let's check out the earbuds. Like I said, it is very similar to the AirPod style. It actually just sits in your ear. It doesn't have silicone ear tips to kind of give you that good seal. So it is just sitting, which in my opinion is not the best way to listen to music. Now they do have button controls, and the button controls work good. I do like the little silicone button that they have, but it controls everything except volume. And I really like for all of my earbuds to include volume control. Now this is where the confusing part is with the stem. Usually the stem will allow you to have a little bit more space to put the battery so you can get a little bit more battery life, but these have 3 hours. So obviously they didn't put it towards that. Then the other thing is the stem will also sometimes be a good place to put the microphone at the bottom so that it's closer to your mouth and it's doing a better job of picking up your voice. But again, the mics on these are sitting on top of the earbuds, which is really confusing. But the microphones on these, even though the placement is confusing, are still not that bad. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. Alright guys, so here is a mic test using the JBL 220s. I think it did a very good job of picking up my voice, especially considering that the microphones are on top of the earbuds. But this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here is a mic test with a crowd noise being played in the background, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now before we get into the sound, I do want to point out for you guys that like to use your earbuds individually, you can use the left or the right. And the sound on these are just okay. It's not anything special. It's not anything spectacular. It's not a very dynamic sound. all the frequencies are doing just enough. So for people that are bass heads and like that thick punchy bass, it doesn't have that. It has a nice warmer tone to it overall, but it just doesn't have anything that's doing anything special. The mids are not very forward, but they don't fall back behind instruments either, so they're just there. And same thing with the treble. The treble, you don't have any problem hearing details. There's nice clarity, but it just doesn't have a very rich sound to it. So while everything does what it's supposed to, it's just not one thing doing anything special. It's same thing with the soundstage and the sound imaging. I think soundstage, it kind of gives you the illusion you're in a medium-sized room, so it's not very open. And then as far as telling where instruments are coming from, you can get a good sense of separation, but you just don't have a whole lot of depth. It just feels like everything is standing in a row. Same thing with the artist singing, same thing with the drummer, the guitarist. It's like they stand in a line and then they're just performing like that in a medium room. So the sound signature of these is just not my favorite. Now, as far as my other cons with these, I have quite a few. Obviously, the micro USB is a con. The mic placement is a con. They easily could have moved it to the bottom of the stem and it would have done a better job of picking up my voice. And then the battery life at 3 hours is just so-so. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just not that great either. And then the other thing is the sound. It's just not anything special. And JBL, I usually prefer their sound. I like the punch in the bass that a lot of their products have, but they usually do a very good job with the highs. I always like that the highs have a lot of details. If I could explain these in one word, it's meh. It's not anything great, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not worth the $100 price tag. I would easily say that this is a $50 pair at best, but that's my opinion. That's my video on the JBL Tune 220s. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.